Happy Wednesday, y'all. Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook, got Justin Wells, got Drew Kelson. May have some more join us later, but until then, go ahead and give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and thank you for joining us. And if you have not done so yet, as soon as you're done watching this video, heck, double multitask. Go over there right now, head to InsideTexas.com. Use the promo code IT1. Get yourself 2 months of access for just $1. Thank y'all to our crew showing up. We love the support. Love doing this on Wednesday nights.
Heck
and even
yeah.
though it's a bye week, we get to talk football. We get to talk about the Longhorns. It's kind of turned into a little bit of a extended hate week, as our guy Sugar Daddy told me the other day. Got some stud muffins on here. But it's turned into a little bit of an extended hate week, and we've talked a lot about the Sooners. And, Drew, I looked up something because the SEC coaches have their weekly media teleconference today on Wednesday. And I know it's kind of a rarity to have this break before the bye week. Or, excuse me, this bye week before Texas-Oklahoma. And I looked it up just to see Oklahoma had theirs the week before the 2006 game. And I can't remember if during, your time there, whether there was a bye for Texas the week before. I did not look that up. Was there one? And even so, what's the week before kind of like anyway?
Bye week or not, you're always projecting this game. Like it's always on the radar. And to be honest with you, in the Big 12, it just depends on who you played early. But it was rare we had some tougher or challenging games early. At the end of the day, though, OU's on the radar, and every year is different. I think when I was there, the teams were pretty evenly or equally matched, even though expectations may have been different. I mean, you knew the game could have gone either way, and I think those games played out. In certain ways, it played out that way. Texas had to show up in a couple games, and they had to show up and do their thing. I think my freshman year when we lost 12-0 was the big year. But this scenario is just, this is what you want, right? No excuses. A bye week for both teams. Everyone gets a chance to recalibrate. Both teams hold something back for this game every year. So we get to see a lot of, what we haven't seen from both teams. Because this is, you say what you want. The OU game, Texas OU, really sets the stage for the both teams for the rest of the season. Everything that happens before, once you get to the Texas OU game, and I love that it's in the middle of the year. It's not at the end of the year. It's not forced at the beginning of the year. There really are no excuses. You put enough on film to where you can prepare for them. But you've also kind of worked through kinks and everything else, and you've held back some. So that's why this game is so explosive, because there's always the uncertainty, there's always the unknowns, but then you have enough of the knowns going into it to where both teams have a game plan, they have a scheme. So having a bye week before this game for both teams, I expect
you're excited. I can just sense the excitement coming from you.
Yeah, it's one of those things. You get guys healed up, so injuries shouldn't be an issue. You get the schemes locked in. You get more than enough practice. We just get to – there are no excuses. I think we're going to get a true assessment of where both teams are mid-year in this game, and there's no excuses about it.
One of the things, and I went on about this on the Monday show, we had Homer, we had Nino from Nino's Corner, we had Ian, and I kind of stole Ian's – I don't want to call it a diatribe, but his speech, in that there is nothing like this game in the regular season. The closest thing that might compare is the cocktail party with Georgia, Florida. But even that's different because it's in, it's not in the Gator Bowl anymore. It's in the Jaguar Stadium. And there is literally nothing like the 50-50 split downfield or down the middle of the field. And what that's like when you're going one direction and what that's like when you're going the other direction. I remember the story. I think our buddy SRR50, Steve Ross, just had his birthday a few days ago. He worked as an SID. He worked in the athletic department.
SID.
And one of the things was right after Bo, know this, I walked by Schembechler Hall. Bo Schembechler, right after he retired, started working for ABC. It's like, Bo, what game do you want to call? It's like, look, I've coached Ohio State, Michigan. I want to go watch and commentate on this game. And he's like, there's nothing like it. So it's fun to get a lead up to talk about it. Drew, you talked about all the different things with saving stuff. And I'm curious, with the fact that Texas played a somewhat similar scheme, at least an offensive scheme, on Saturday against Mississippi State, what do you kind of see as like an offensive and defensive game plan from the Longhorns for OU, especially as they do try to do the things like you mentioned, like unleash some stuff that they haven't seen yet?
I think just starting with OU's offense, I'm sure there's something that we haven't seen. You know, Michael Hawkins Jr. is still developing. There are things that they're going to layer in, and when you have a bye week, there are things you can just throw in there and really make sure that he reps and gets comfortable with and say, you know, these are the three key things that we think are going to exploit this Texas defense. We need you to master these. We don't know when in the game, what situation, what opportunities we're going to have to take advantage of it. But we need you to be ready when we pull the trigger on this opportunity. So around him, you want to run the ball effectively. You want to get yards. You want to find the easy plays, the easy yards. They have, when you have 2 weeks to prepare for this game, why can't they do at a minimum what we saw Mississippi State do? Just at a bare minimum. Just from the standpoint of trying to control the clock and running the ball. I mean, it may not be how they want to play this game, but you play to win. So I do expect them to mirror some things we saw there from Mississippi State, especially in the run game. However, from a Texas defensive standpoint, when we have a quarterback that we know is mobile and we know can run, we generally, we do fine.
Yeah.
We've done fine. We did great against Jalen Milroe. We've done well against quarterbacks we know are running and know can run. I think where we have struggled is when a quarterback, we just assume he won't run, or we go into the game plan not expecting it and we get shocked. And that tail goes, you ask OU fans, they think we still have nightmares about Caleb Williams. But at the end of the day, any mobile quarterback going back to last year, their quarterback last year, Dylan Gabriel he gave us
100 yards.
Yeah. So that's something that if we go into this game and the quarterback run game or the quarterback converting the passing game to a run is an issue for us to where we lose, or we have an issue, like a true issue where it's a difference maker in the game, that will be disappointing. But I do think if we can corral this young quarterback with our really talented and experienced defense, if we can stop the run and win on first and second downs, I love what we can do on third downs. Third downs is the most exciting down for Texas football right now.
It gets so loud.
It's just when third down defense, third and long, there's nothing like it. So I am excited about that matchup. And then offensively, we got to see. We got to see what they do over 4 quarters. They have really good players, but we'll have to see what the depth of their talent does over 4 quarters because we can stretch them in different ways. There's a reason Peyton Thorne looked like a Heisman quarterback early, and Auburn controlled the game. So I'm just, until I see different from OU, I will not assume that what I have seen is enough to beat us this week. I do think with Quinn coming back, we can exploit so many different things, and we would have been able to do it with Arch anyway. But I think if we can establish the run, or if we can just get those get effective yardage on RPOs, either one I'll take. I don't know how they outscore us, if nothing else.
Justin, we've seen our buddies over at Sooner Scoop. I think Eddie Radosevich has mentioned now that Michael Hawkins and even Brent Venables today kind of alluded to the fact, and I asked him about it, like, how do you prepare a true freshman for this football game? We've seen, I think, in the past 10 years, Sam Ehlinger started this game. Shane Buechele started this game as a true freshman. I think Gerard Hurd was a redshirt freshman at the time. Colt was a redshirt freshman, all the different stuff. But a true freshman starting this game for Oklahoma has not happened. I'm pretty sure, going by off of what our buddy Eddie said. So, like, what type of dynamic does that create for the Texas defense, knowing that a talented, very good, does what he does right, freshman quarterback is playing in this game for the first time in program history and starting this game?
It's substantial because he doesn't know what he doesn't know. It's different if they're an experienced guy and they've been in this game and they understand the magnitude. But sometimes freshmen, as much as you tell them how important this game is, don't really understand it until they're starting to run and jog through the tunnel. Then it hits them. And so with Hawkins, I almost feel like him being naive is a plus for them because he doesn't know what to expect. Granted, he's from Allen. He's seen these games before, and he's going to use that motivation. Texas is the higher ranked team. Texas is a double digit, in the double digit
favorite.
Yeah, favorite. They know all those things. But Hawkins, man, I'm telling you, he's going to play with his hair on fire, and he's going to play probably, as mistake free as he can because he just doesn't. He won't understand that magnitude yet. And that's why PK is going to have to dial up some new stuff. And I swear to you, I think Sark went conservative against Mississippi State just so he didn't reveal anything from a defensive standpoint to Oklahoma and or Georgia. And I think we saw some of that. And so it's going to be big. I mean, look, Mikey Hawkins is playing with house money. If he loses, he's expected to lose. They're double-digit dogs. It's his first Texas OU game. He's expected to. So he's going to probably play with not a lot of worry, similar to how Gerard Hurd played in his first game. I believe it was 2015. And so that's significant. It should, as good as Texas defense is, it should be a good tell that, hey, you get this kid shook up, you get him rattled. That's the key to it. And they fully understand this kid's going to stop and run. Like, they're going to take passes. We're going to see some tricky stuff. But his game is running, similar to what Gerard Hurd's was. It's running. If they can spy him, contain him, keep him in there, dude, I think it could be a long day. But at the same time, a true freshman, they don't know what they don't know. Ryan Wingo went into Ann Arbor, and he should have been intimidated. National champions, 110,000. He wasn't because he didn't know any better. I feel like that's actually a plus for Oklahoma.
Before we keep going, going to get to a lot of comments, and thank you for commenting. Get some questions in. Really enjoy doing that. We got to talk about Prize Picks. If you use the code Inside Texas, play $5, get $5 instantly. This is super simple. I made a few squares before I came on the show. I know, but we got to check them out. Let's see what we got. Okay. More than 317 passing yards for Josh Hoover against Houston, and more than 75 receiving yards for Miami, Xavier Restrepo against Cal. Restrepo, yeah. That guy's one of the best wide receivers in the country.
He is solid. He reminds me of Hunter Renfrow a lot.
The other thing, it's not just college football. It's a lot more than that. I did a square tonight. Luis Arraez, more than 1.5 hit run in RBI, and I paired that with Derrick Henry, more than 86.5 rushing yards. So you can do a lot of different stuff on Prize Picks. It is daily fantasy sports made easy. So go to prizepicks.com, use the promo code Inside Texas, or go to the Prize Picks app. You play $5, you get $50 instantly. It's a lot of fun. I think I've been doing pretty well. I like the numbers I'm seeing on my account. You will as well. So let's go through and check out some of the comments. Again, thank you for getting that in. Football Junkie, thank you for the super chat. Coming out party for Trey Moore. I have several Texas players getting sacks, including Simmons, Moore, and Hill. I think this is a good game. And we've had Inside Texas members note that Trey Moore has played good football, has not showed up in the stat sheet quite yet. But Drew, is this the game where Trey Moore finally starts getting the tackles for loss that Texas fans expected?
I mean, I hope so for him. I mean, he's been doing everything else right. It's different when there's a player that comes on and comes in the portal and they develop and they finally get in the program and they get their legs under them, they get going. I mean, this guy since day one has shown up and has shown up in practice and been a staple and been. I mean, his work has already earned the right to be on the field, but sometimes the opportunities don't present themselves, and then when you get them, you have to create them. But still, I hope this is a game for him. This is a huge stage. While NFL scouts will look at his film regardless of the stage, this is one where, I mean, you want your name to shine because if your name shines this week, everyone's going to be looking for your name the next week. We know who we play the following week, so hopefully he gets some shine this week. He finds the plays and gets to the quarterback. I think we're gonna have a lot of chances to do that. So,
do you think this is a case where we've watched him be assignment sound, and that's great, but we haven't seen the wow plays, and now it's kind of like we're asking, okay, where are those? We've been waiting on them. Is that kind of how you've approached Moore's game?
well, I mean, first, I didn't assume, and maybe I'm different than everyone else. I didn't assume Moore would bring the wow plays to us. We saw wow plays of him or with him at UTSA. We knew he would be a solid player. We knew he would be a contributor. We knew he would be solid for us. He's actually already exceeded what I thought. I make no assumptions when a player comes from a G5 league and comes to Texas, especially when they're one of their biggest games. You know, they had 4 sacks or something, and they just wore out certain. You know, the stats always. I mean, his best stat games were games where, I mean, well, there were games against opponents that, I mean, he got multiple sacks. So it's not just about the stats. It's about what he does on film. And so even last year, the stats said one thing. He still was a solid all-around player on film. This year, he's a solid all-around player on film. If you didn't have any sacks the first half, the second half of the season are where you want them, because it gets, I don't care what anybody says, the rest of the season is going to be a run. So this is the time to make your money.
Does anybody not see the stats? The leading sack guys are the backups because they're teeing off in the second half. Trey Moore isn't pinning his ears back in the second half. We got some viewers in here with some comments about Trey Moore, this ain't UTSA, and Trey Moore doesn't have sack totals expected. Is he coming back? Are you kidding me? Trey Moore is an incredible teammate. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I think I agree with you on the sack thing, but I don't think it's unreasonable to think he comes back another year. But I think what you're saying and should continue to say is true.
I mean, the dude, unless he has a breakout year and gets drafted, there's no reason to go anywhere else. I think the program loves him, and he's a veteran guy. He's good for the locker room. Give him another year in this locker room. It'll be like David Benda in there. Trey Moore does a lot of stuff off the field that we don't see. And like Drew said, you can't look at the box score and measure what he does. As fans, you want those sacks because that's what he brought. He brought, 55 tackles for losses or something in 2 years, some ridiculous stat. It's coming. But there was one reason he had so many at UTSA. He wasn't playing opposite Ethan Burke and Baron Sorrell and Colin Simmons and Colton Vasek. There's an order here at Texas, and all these sacks, if you notice, come in the second half when Texas is pulling away. They're bending their ears back, and they're just letting Colin Simmons be a freak and Ethan Burke be a shot blocker. So for Trey Moore, I just relax on him, pump the brakes on that boy. He does so many things in this program. I think people don't understand. He was big in the spring, he was big in the summer, and he's going to continue to be big this fall.
You're right, Justin. If we can get up early and force them to have to throw the ball a bit more.
Oh,
that's when.
One thing that Texas has done very well, and they probably did worst all year against Mississippi State, is dictate the terms of the game. They dictated the terms of the game against Colorado State. They didn't want to block Texas' defensive line. Well, tough. Texas got up real fast, and then I think Colorado State realized what was ahead of them and ran the ball. Like when people look at Colorado State's rushing total and say, "Oh, they rushed for 100 yards," they wanted to get back to Fort Collins as fast as they could. Once Michigan was down 17-3, and I think that was when you saw the trick play, the flea flicker, that was indicative. And that flea flicker did not result in 7 points. I think it ended in a field goal drive. That, Michigan does not play well from behind. Similar applied to ULM, similar applied to UTSA. And it took literally until Arch hit DeAndre Moore on that touchdown right before halftime for Texas to be able to dictate the terms. So that's something they've done well, and being able to dictate terms is something great teams do. It's why Michigan won the national championship last year. So I think that's one of the big keys for this game. And if Texas is able to do that, it'll go a long way, and Trey Moore will be an integral part of doing that.
I've got another one for you. With Sark, think about the guys before him: Mac Brown, Charlie Strong, Tom Herman. They had good days against OU. They had their bad. Sark hasn't really had a bad day against Oklahoma yet. He's lost a couple games, but they're close. Every game he's been in has been close. And last year, it came down to two guys not being sound in their gaps is the only reason they lost that football game, even playing as poorly as they did and Oklahoma playing as well as they did. And so I think that's another thing to factor in. They left that game last year thinking we just left that's a loss we cannot that was not right. There's no way you can come back to that. Sark understands you want to stay at Texas, you have to beat Oklahoma. I think that's the coolest thing about Sark right now. Every game has been competitive. Every game has been close or been good. And I think that is what puts them over the edge this year, because they remember last year, Sark's got 2 losses against Oklahoma where if one play goes here and another goes there, this dude's undefeated against the Sooners. Sark understands how important it is. I think that's the coolest thing that took Mac Brown about 4 or 5 years to get to. I don't know if Charlie ever got to that. I'm not sure Herman ever did either.
Like this one. Going to go through some more comments. We're going to see Quinn at his best with a lot of time to prepare. I think that's a safe assumption. Might be his best. I'm guessing his best performance so far as a Longhorn. I looked this up. When Quinn Ewers comes back from injury, he's done it twice. And the fact that he's had to do it twice is a problem, but here we are anyway. And it's going to be 3 times now. But when Quinn Ewers comes back from injury, they've played Oklahoma in 2022. We know how that went. 49-0, in case anybody who's watching forgot. They defeated TCU last year in Fort Worth. And in those 2 games, and the stats are about split evenly, 43 for 64, 67%, 606 total yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. One of those interceptions was inconsequential against the Sooners. The other interception was the Xavier Worthy, Jordan Whittington chase down play. So he was a deep shot. He still threw it. It was still picked off.
Yeah.
But it didn't hurt the Longhorns, and it didn't either time. So we've seen really good Quinn Ewers.
There's no reason to think Quinn's not going to pick up where he left off, guys. There's a reason he was in the Heisman talk. There's a reason he's probably going to be the first quarterback selected in 2025's draft. There is no reason to think he's not going to pick up where he left off. The only thing I would think of is a little bit of rust. That's it. And the way he's been practicing the last 2 weeks, I know the game is a lot different, but he's been in this game. I think Quinn's going to be – Quinn knows. Growing up as a Longhorn fan his whole life, Quinn understands how big OU is. OU and A&M in his household are the 2 biggest enemies in the world. Quinn knows if there's one guy you want dialed in ready in 2 weeks at the State Fair, it's Quinn Ewers, and that's kind of his tendency. He'll be ready.
Justin,
talk to me, Drew.
This is where Quinn's about to make some money, man.
Oh,
and the reason why you can say what you want about OU's offense and struggles and everything else, OU's defense is a money-making type opponent. And in the rest of this league, we have as a money-making type opponent. I was initially looking at the OU Auburn game. I was like, man, Peyton Thorne looks
like he take him out of under the bus.
When you take him out of the RPO game and he doesn't have to make a decision, it was like, wow, he's finding the guys. When he had enough time, he was getting the receivers the ball. And early, he was beating them over the top. So I remember watching them last week. And, of course, this is before we knew for certain Quinn would be back. I figured he would, but I was like, man, you know what? Worst case scenario, Arch can beat these guys over the top. but Quinn can do both. Quinn can nickel and dime you and lull you to sleep and make you feel like this guy's overrated and they're not doing much. They're just getting 6 yards, 7 yards. He's just dumping underneath and then beats you on the corner, beats you on a post, beats you on a slot fade, beats you on just he can beat you in different ways. So Quinn having this time, not just from an injury perspective, but to get fresh. And the last thing about Quinn, I'll say this. Did you see how pissed he was when he got hurt? He wasn't crying as I'm injured forever. It wasn't one of those I'm out forever. It's one of those injuries like, y'all,
are you kidding me?
You just got saved. The world just got saved. The way I'm grooving right now, the way I'm feeling right now, the way I'm dialed in right now, y'all just got lucky. When Quinn gets back on the field, the way he was seeing the game prior, the way he's prepared for these blitzes, Quinn has been exploited by these blitzes. I think people forget Quinn balled last year. After those
last 2 years.
Yeah. Last 2 years. Look at the turnovers in this game last year. They were early. The defense is who let us down, and we just couldn't figure it out. We from DBs to just stopping a running quarterback. Quinn will be prepared. Quinn and Sark will be prepared to win this game. I have no doubt about it. And Quinn is going to come back hungry. Yeah,
I'm trying to find
bring it the way they always do, but Quinn has always been a difference maker in this one.
Let me see if I can find this. It's a PDF because they don't have the original form of it, but it is Quinn Ewers' passing chart from that game. And I think I got a good version of it here. There we go. Okay. Because it really tells the tale of what Ewers was doing in that contest. If I can get this just right. Yeah, close enough. Okay, here we go. And I think this is what's going to illustrate how much Quinn has succeeded against Oklahoma and what we're kind of expecting to see from him this year. So here we go. You see at the top, 31 of 37, 84%, 346 yards, 1 touchdown, and those 2 interceptions. One was, I'm trying to think. The first one was
the second pass. Adnan Mitchell let his DB get leverage on him, let him cross his face. And so when he threw that slant, the DB was ready. He had the leverage.
Then the other one was Billy Bowman making a play. And that's
a big play. Billy Bowman,
players do. But here, if you go down after that interception, he finishes 28 of 31. Like, he was on fire in that game. They didn't get the yard when it counted, and that sucks. Didn't get the yards at the end. That sucks. And it is what it is. But Quinn Ewers has played extremely good football against Oklahoma, and I don't think there's any reason to doubt that he's going to do it again. But his challenge may be greater than it ever has, at least in the Cotton Bowl, just because of how quality that defense is this year over in Norman. Need Texas in the tunnel against Michigan vibes. Drew, I think you're the only person of this trio who has been in the tunnel. And you saw the video of the Michigan one. Granted, that's their own turf, but Texas made it seem like it was their turf. What's the tunnel like for anybody who has never really understood it?
In all due respect to Michigan, there's no player I expect on the OU side who doesn't match Texas's energy in that tunnel. That was a good video pick of just watching Texas players like be ready and pumped up for a game. OU players are going to be there too. Michigan, maybe that was just a little different for them. Our players are going to have that energy they had in the Michigan game, but you need to expect OU players to have that same energy.
Energy.
You will not get that type of. Now, depending on how the first half goes and you catch a video of them coming in at halftime, maybe you get some different energy there. But pregame, yeah, I mean, the locker rooms are closer. You're right there, and you know these people. I mean, you know these guys too.
Casey Thompson's over there.
You know these dudes. It's not some stranger from Michigan or from the Midwest. Nah, you know these guys. So it is different. It is different. By this time, especially with the upperclassmen, they hate us. These guys hate us. Bowman hates us. Stutzman hates us. I mean, you look at once you've been in the program and been in these games, you hate Texas. Texas players hate OU. All the leaders for both teams will make sure the mentalities are right for this game. So in that tunnel, yeah, there won't be some sign of, especially at the beginning of the game, there won't be some sign of one team is more mentally ready than another. Both teams come out of that tunnel fully believing like it's going down. So
before we keep on going, got to figure out what the sponsor is. Give some love to our sponsor. I believe for tonight's show, in addition to our friends over at Pride, that is, come on, got to make sure we give the right people the love. And that is Laura Baker, who helped our buddy Ian Boyd get into the stands. But I'm going to defer to LC on the right words.
Hi, I want to tell you about Laura Baker. If you're looking for a new home in the 512 or even at this point, let's face it, 737 area code, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. As a member of the elite Andy Allen team with Keller Williams, Laura has helped Longhorns find the home of their dreams in Central Texas. Just ask our resident sex symbol, Ian Boyd, who moved all the way from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Laura can help you find what you're looking for in the 512, the 737, or even parts of the 254 and the 210. Just, give her a call at 512-784-0505. Her email is in the description as well as the rest of her contact details. She's a friend. Give her a call.
Thank you, LC. Thank you to Laura. Drew, as our buddy Sugar Daddy has noted, you've been on fire today. Love that, as always. Got a one from our buddy Brett Nelson. Do y'all see Sark going full all gas this game if he can? I've kind of thought for a while that Sark, he gave himself a great marketing tool when he said that at his introductory Zoom press conference. And, he wants to win every game, and I think he gives every effort that way. But you play the game, and you play the game in the right way to win it. Sometimes that looks like taking the air out of the ball like it is at Michigan, but I don't think there should be any questioning that Sark wants to win this game because he understands his record against the Sooners.
Look, Sark has a very, very good idea of what he's got. He knows what toys are in that basket. He knows exactly how to use them. And I think he's used his first 5-6 weeks of the season to get to this point where, hey, OU's going to have to guard 7 different receivers when they're on the field. OU's going to have to pay attention to 3 or 4 different running backs. If something happens to Quinn, OU's going to have to deal with a really, really good backup quarterback. Sark is going to be so gassed. There'll be more gas. It's going to be like Sweet Lady Propane in Arlen because it's all gas. Honestly, I could see Texas bowling this group, Texas beating Oklahoma, but then maybe a letdown with Georgia because it takes so much. You use so much, expend so much energy in this game. It means so much to the program. Sometimes there can be an emotional letdown. The fact that they have 2 weeks to prepare for this makes me think it's going to be even more gassed up. There won't be any breaks. There's no governor on this car. When you're driving a Quinn Ewers, you drive him fast. When you've got the tools and toys that you've got in this offense, you go fast. And honestly, Oklahoma's strength is their defense. If you can find mismatches, if you can find 3 or 4 plays that will set up 2 or 3 plays in the second half, man, throw out the record. Sark is going to go balls to the wall. It's going to be like Hank Hill slinging that propane, man.
Lady Bird.
Sugar Father never fails.
Here's a good one from Intro Text. Expect a lot of gimmicky plays from OU, double passes in reverse.
I'll give you.
Go ahead, Drew.
This is what. So one thing I noticed when I was watching Bama and Georgia game, because SEC defense is right, but there were a lot of explosive plays in that game.
The whole game was
a lot of explosive, big chunk plays.
Yeah,
and we have yet to give up those types of plays.
Just one.
one, right? Like we have. What I mean is like they're just not routine in games we play. Whether so, one thing when you were talking there, Justin, I was like, dude, how will this OU and Georgia game play out? When it comes down to it, for me, as long as our defense prevents explosive plays, like short drives where they just answer quick, 7 points real quick on the spot, under 3 minutes. The way our offense both uses the clock, drives the field, and takes opportune explosive plays, I can't help but think, regardless of the intensity of these next, 3 weeks, you were saying a letdown game for Georgia. I'm like, as long as we don't give up, what does a letdown look like, right? A letdown looks like not tackling well, not, penalties, not doing your assignments, but explosive plays are the real big thing that comes down to letdowns. And I just feel like we just have too much competition at every position. Too much competition at every position for there to be an issue with guys just not being dialed in. But two, I just don't see us randomly all of a sudden having explosive plays all over the board in those games, because it's just not in the DNA now. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's just not in the DNA of the defense. It's just not there. So
this isn't OU's Lincoln Riley where he had explosive plays on either side of the field. This team is built around defense.
And I think you're talking about it's in this defense's DNA. It's in this defensive coordinator's DNA. Like, one of the big goals for Pete Kwiatkowski, and we saw that play out across 60 minutes of game time with Mississippi State. Don't give up the explosive. You've got the guys who are going to pursue from the secondary, who can break off blocks on the D-line, who are going to get that guy down. They believe that they have the defensive backs to stay with guys. Don't let anybody get behind. You can track guys down. You can bunch up in the red zone. Like, that is Pete Kwiatkowski to a T. Like, people have, I think, criticized him on our board, on YouTube probably, and everywhere, that he's too passive. Well, he doesn't want to give up the big play. Like, that's his thing. And because giving up big plays, flipping fields often is a determinant of results. And if you have to go and be successful 9 times in a row if you want to just drive the ball down the field. If you give up one big play, that number shrinks drastically. So that's why Pete Kwiatkowski tries to force defenses. Of course, he tries to steal yards as well with sacks and tackles for loss.
Joe, I'm going to need you to call Toadvine at the end of this video and say exactly what you just said to us.
We got 5 people to call with that information. And it's maddening. It's frustrating, especially when it fails like it did in 2021. But it can be effective too. And I think that's what we see Pete Kwiatkowski try to do. Here's a fun fact. Would OU put in Casey Thompson? And fun question, I should say. Would OU put in Casey Thompson if Hawkins struggled? I don't think so. I mean,
they won't.
Jackson Arnold already redshirted, so it's not like you need to preserve.
Okay, Casey would have to go in
last year or 2 years ago.
Casey would have to go in. It reminds me of that time when, what was it? I guess I can't remember what year it was, and Mac had said something to Case McCoy about, hey, you need to go in, and he's like, no, I'm not going in. Well, I can see Casey Thompson sitting over there with his juice box and his tablet, acting like he's going through plays and with the headphones on, but he ain't listening to that. He's listening to new Meek Mill or something, probably listening to Diddy. There's no way Casey Thompson goes out on that field. There's no freaking way.
Somebody pointed out the same thing. Our buddy Sandman said he might be hurt. So if that's the case,
I'd be hurt this week conveniently.
How are you hurt? You mean, wait, who's hurt? Casey or Brendan?
Probably both.
Yeah.
They asked Brendan to do the wrong things. Like, they're asking the
play football.
I'm like,
that kid should be running track, Joe.
Who's hurt? Something is hurt.
I think it was Casey he was talking about.
Man, okay, so Casey's hurt. Oh man. Well, either way, Casey gets to execute. He wants to live in Oklahoma. He's moving back to Soonerville. he gets a network and do all these things this year as a backup, and he'll be where he wants to be the rest of his life. Like, that's the game plan for Casey. It's not anything beyond that. So he's right where he needs to be. If you call him and ask him to go into a game, good luck.
Hey, the shade of orange he used to wear was a lot better than the shade of orange his dad wore.
I have no transition for that one. This is a game where a true freshman punter worries me, as silly as that may seem. The only I agree with that, but only in 2 quarters. If Texas is punting from its own side of the field, that's about the only time it kind of concerns me.
I'm more concerned about our punt returner than our true freshman.
He feels a little careless, Drew. A little bit.
It just, I mean, I don't know. They have to have metrics for this, right? They have to have metrics where since Silas Bolden has showed up, because he didn't show up in the spring, but they've seen, let's just say, I don't know, 500 punts he's caught. They're comfortable with it. Like, there has to be a number where you just say, you know what, we've seen him do it enough. We're comfortable. But the way he does it, you know what? He has not failed us yet. This is just not the game, dude.
Yes. And one of the things is, like, I understand if you see a bouncing ball to hop on it so it doesn't keep bouncing and get 15 more yards. But at the same time, like, you have to make sure you've got it. And I think we kind of had that sense with Xavier Worthy. I don't have that sense.
Reggie Hemphill maps this. You have to know where the 10-yard line is.
I'm with you. Because getting backed up in that game is not the right place. But to UT Parking's point, honestly, he's been fine. He hadn't been spectacular. He hadn't been Michael Dixon. He hadn't been Dicker. But, I mean, I'm only concerned if he gets backed up in that OU side. Here's a take that I don't agree with. I want the fans to switch sides every year. Do y'all have any thoughts on? Has it switched in y'all's lifetime?
I mean, my question is just why.
Yeah,
Does the tunnel matter that much?
I like having a good sense of where we're going to sit and everything else. I mean, for me, I like running. I remember liking running out of the tunnel on the OU side, but I get to sprint towards my fans. Because honestly, at home, that's what you do. You run out and you run to the other end zone. So it's just natural to sprint towards the fans. I mean, unless he has a reason for why, I'd love to hear why. But
it's one of those things that, I think sometimes we're in a society where we want to tinker with stuff too much. We want to mess with stuff that already works just because, hey, we didn't try it this way. Why didn't we think of this? Well, that's one of these things. There's no reason to mess with it. It is what it is. Let the tradition be what it is. I love how the Texas players describe it. You're running out to a smatter of boos. I mean, just deafening. But each step you take is a little lighter and a little bit lighter. And then once you get closer, it's that uproar. And what I've had Texas players tell me it's intoxicating. Let's not mess with it. I don't think Oklahoma wants to change either. I think they love knowing they can run out and not have to run through the Texas side. I think they prefer that. But just from what Drew said, let the guy just keep it the way it is. There's no need to change. I don't know what the story is with switching sides, but keep it the way it is.
Justin, I think you may have met him before. Derek Ochoa. I think he's the director of creative media.
Oh,
basically, if you see anything cool on the Texas football social media platform, it's from him.
It's usually him
or his team. He has a video of them following Quinn out, I think in 22, and it illustrates like what that feeling is like. And I'm bringing this comment up, and it kind of reflects some other ones, and I'll bring up one from Chris Bennett. Feels like OU always owns the stadium. And it also kind of brings up this 11 wins since 2010. There's been some people who are like, oh, they always bring the intensity. OU does more than Texas. Look, we've got to have a real conversation here. OU's been one of the top 5 programs in college football this century.
Thank you.
It's not like they don't want it more. Like that's the dumbest term in football. And if a buddy from another site is listening, he would believe me.
That's a Skip Bayless speech.
They don't want it more. I don't think in most cases they don't bring more intensity. They don't own the stadium. They've been really freaking good at football.
And if they know they can screw up Texas' chances at a national championship this year, that's exactly what they're going to act like.
Right.
Until that game is out of hand, that's the intensity Oklahoma's going to bring, and that's why they are the rival.
I remember the Oklahoma Sooner Scoop, when they were doing the coaching search, they're like, we've never done this, because they are good at this. They don't have to go through coaches and find a replacement for Mac Brown and find a replacement for Charlie Strong and find a replacement for Tom Herman. Like, at some point, you got to play football, and Oklahoma's been good at it. So a lot of these cliches, and I understand where they're coming from. I'm not like totally discounting that, but like a lot of it boils down to the fact that Oklahoma has been good at football. And there have been stretches within the past 15 years, probably maybe it's Drew's fault for leaving campus. I don't know.
No. See, what OU is in their Charlie Strong phase. I think we finally got here. They're in their Charlie Strong phase. They're going to play a young quarterback. No matter what they do next year, it shouldn't matter. They just got to figure some things out. Because at the end of the day, when has this game not been a quarterback game?
Exactly. Why do Peter Gardier is not that good?
No.
But he's a legend because he went 4-0. Like, go look at Peter Gardier's stats. Like, pretty especially in an era when quarterbacks didn't do much. But he was the starter who went 4-0. And so everybody, rightfully so, to a degree, reveres Peter the Great. His name's Peter the Great. Quentin, sorry I missed this super chat. Justin, I'll throw this your way. Whose defense is better, Michigan or Oklahoma?
Ask me at
Michigan.
6 o'clock on Saturday evening. Ask me. Come back on this show and ask us that. My gut tells me Michigan because of how good they are up front. Oklahoma may be better on the back end. I know they have better safeties, but overall, I think it's Michigan because, one, they're all experienced. There's not a lot of young phenoms. They're all juniors and seniors that are going to be playing on Sundays. So my gut, just because that's who I've seen the most, is Michigan, but I'm going to reserve that answer until 6 o'clock on Saturday.
We tend to – I mean, Chris Bennett brought it up, but now this kind of continues here, right? Like, we give OU way too much credit because we've lost 11 games since 2010. It's tough for our fans. It's tough for us to just see the game for what it is.
He's right.
Look at our roster. Look at how they've played. Look at how their offense has failed to execute. Look at how many points we score even on our worst days. And tell me this is going to somehow be different. Jeff Lebby is gone. Michael Hawkins Jr. is a great young talent, but they haven't been dynamic with him. He has had dynamic moments, but they have not been dynamic. We got to stop overthinking this. And I'm not saying go ramp up all your trash talk on Twitter, but see this for what it is and be proud of it. We have Quinn coming back. We have a defense that's versatile, so much smarter and communicating so well as at the DB position. I do think at linebacker will be tested, in 2 weeks. But at the end of the day, this is a game we should expect to win. Let's just call it. It's the game we should expect to win. I know we have a lot of time to think about this, but let's not overthink it. Let's not stress out. Let's make sure our team is more focused on packaging together the next 3 games and executing game plans and focus on the process and focus on execution and focus on playing clean games, because the rest of the schedule is a winnable schedule. It has nothing to do with our talent, and we hope we're good enough. We are good enough. We need to stop that. We hope we're good enough because we're giving way too much credit to OU. Right now, our challenge just in general is just, can we show up healthy executing, dialed in, focused to win week over week over week over week. We have the talent. If they win this game, it's because not just they showed up with a game plan, but we just failed multiple times on multiple fronts. There's no reason we should lose this game. There's no reason we should lose this game. And if we do, that's a completely different conversation. But we're in position to do that amongst so many other things coming off a bye week. This should be the least nervous any of you guys are in any game.
That's spoken like somebody who's been inside a confident football program.
Amen.
Meanwhile, I'm over here thinking about like Case McCoy throwing for 3 touchdowns against the Oklahoma team, and been great.
First
there
game
are no
I
Case
covered.
McCoys on this roster, bro.
2013. He made 3 throws in that entire game. 3. That was it.
And they were great.
They were perfect. Mike Davis, Marcus Johnson, they were perfect.
But while Drew, I know where you're coming from with that, and I can't find any fault with it. But I'm approaching this from just what we've seen, and that it's when people talk about it being an anything can happen game. That's what you're that's what you're telling Texas, if you're Steve Sarkisian, to avoid. You're telling your team all the stuff that you just said, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
But then they still have to avoid it. And I guess that's just coaching. But what you've said is the most, that guy played college football at Texas in this game thing that I think you've said maybe on this show. Go ahead.
No, it's just, it's one of those things like the same things that matter for this game matter for every game. Don't turn over the ball. We played Mississippi State and turn over the ball, and it looked like a different game. So that's not an OU anomaly. That's just the intensity of OU makes it look like it's such an intense thing.
Right.
The turnovers in Mississippi State are no different than the turnovers in OU. I'm not saying the games are equal. What I'm saying is it gets amplified. Yes. We have to protect the football. We have to block well. Every penalty, everything gets amplified in this game. It means so much to us that we forget who we are and who we've been. We may have some penalties this game against OU. I don't expect turnovers. I don't expect fumbles because that's not who we've been. That hasn't been the DNA. We've gotten turnovers on defense. We perform well on defense. So I expect us to show up and be who we are. But the intensity of this game makes us just think of OU at their best. Where was OU their best this year? Oh, damn. Where was Texas at their worst this year? Oh, damn. That's how it's going to play out. And that's not how it ever plays out. So
I'm with you.
Stand strong, people.
We got another week to wax poetic on this stuff, fellas, and I'm ready.
It's fun, man. UT parking. This is the first game where I truly worry about our running back room. We need a hammer. Hopefully Gibson's fully healthy because he would be needed. Justin, he's not been on the injury report. I think it's just bringing, and even as much as a situation asks for more from the freshman, it's a case of bringing a freshman along.
It is. And I think we got early glimpses. You saw him against Michigan, and you were like, okay, there's your red zone guy right there. There's your goal line back. Look, here's the coolest thing about Jarrett Gibson. He's only true north. He owns a compass and has no clue what the other 3 directions are. All he does is go north. He doesn't understand south. East and west don't register. It's always true north. And I love that about a young back, because even in your worst play call and the defense is there, you're going forward a couple yards. I think Gibson's, with another week of this, they're going to open up his ability a little bit more, because look, Jaden Blue, they're going to keep Jaden Blue in the mix. You're not going to win a title this year without him. But I think Wisner, I wouldn't be shocked if Wisner didn't get the start. I wouldn't be shocked if Wisner got more carries. But when you get in the red zone, you get down there in the goal line, I think that's when we will see Jarrett Gibson more. And man, what a great – give us some Cody Johnson vibes. Because when he came on the field, you knew exactly what was going to happen. He was going to go forward, and that's the best thing about Jarrett Gibson. Give the man a compass, because he has no idea of 3 other directions. It's always north with him.
If it's blocked for 0, he can get 3, and if it's blocked for 3, he can get more than 3.
He's a big boy. He's got a big caboose.
The only thing, and I think Paul Wadlington has noted this, if you go to Inside Texas, he's had a lot of great analysis. he's running a lot of gap schemes. Like, he's not running a ton of zone quite yet, and pass blocking is not a strength of his quite yet. So you may not see a ton of Jarrett Gibson on third down, but maybe you see him on first and second. Right at about 55 minutes, I think we got time for one more good question from a longtime watcher. That's Helio Castillo.
This is a good question.
Do you guys feel Johnny Nansen will have an impact on how Texas defends Oklahoma, since he was on the Arizona team that beat them in the bowl game?
That's
a lot of dynamics here with quarterback and talent and players, but you got to know that he's got some stored knowledge, Justin, based off that experience in that game prep.
He has to, not just him, but also Bill Norton on the defensive line. He's got an idea too. Now, granted, they went against Jackson Arnold, so this is going to be a little bit of a different, obviously, concepts and scheme, but it's still the same team. It's still the same vibe. It's actually a worse offensive line. It's actually a worse skilled team than they faced last year. But if that's not one of the reasons Johnny Nansen was hired, then somebody failed. Because what they did to Oklahoma was incredible in that bowl game. And obviously, some of that's going to carry over. There's going to be tendencies that they're going to pick up that Nansen already knows about. And again, that's why I love that there's a bye week between this game, because I really do think it allows these coaches to be masters of their craft.
Drew, you got anything?
I mean, who was their OC in the bowl game last year?
Levy. Oh, did he leave already?
I think it may have been switched to
Beanball.
No, Joe John Finley and
that's what I thought. I thought it was
what's
switched,
his name?
and they did the whole like let's keep the incumbent deal going. But
what's his name? They hate him up there. What's his name?
Seth Luttrell.
Yes.
Luttrell.
Yeah.
So he was the OC. Okay.
Yeah, they're not fans of him and Norman right now.
That timeline makes sense because I don't think Levy was waiting around until the Alamo Bowl.
No, he wasn't. You're right.
Yeah.
It was Luttrell. Because then they pick him up as like an analyst out of the bullpen.
That's what he originally was.
Yeah.
After he got axed at North Texas.
Right.
I think I heard a story that he could have had the Kansas State job, but Kansas State tried to tell him that you need to hire these assistants. It's like, well, I'm not doing that, and I'm staying at North Texas, and maybe he should have.
Dude, if you talk to any North Texas cats, they said that man, he was there way too long.
Yeah, OU's gonna they're probably gonna hate their OC after our game.
I think they already do.
They got bailed out. No, let's just call it like it is. Like if you were on Twitter, if you were on any social media while they were playing Auburn, there were jobs being called.
We got to, and Stoops 5, thanks for coming over.
Yeah, man. We appreciate it. We love the back and forth.
Thank you for telling it like it is, Stoops 5.
Yes. We love the back and forth. That's what makes this game so freaking cool.
There were jobs
I love the banter.
Bob Stoops figured out that he needed a ton of different offensive coordinators to revitalize his program at various times. Lincoln Riley's got to figure that out, or else he may not be long for Norman. But he might not be long for Norman anyway, if looking at the way that Drew has looked at it, right?
I'm just, at the end of the day, you need a quarterback and you need an offense. Last year, they had both. I think this year, if they had the offense, they could have found the quarterback. And this year, they have neither.
They let Gabriel go because they thought Jackson Arnold was ready, and that's going to backfire.
They don't realize, like, for a 4-quarter game with all the plays on film and you have weeks to prepare, there's only so much this young man can do. Maybe if Nick Anderson comes back, if they get some receivers back and they can just make some plays, maybe that's different. But this is a different game. But as long as OU fans believe, I'm excited because this is the kind of game where you want them to have faith and confidence that they're going to do something. So,
aren't they ranked 15th in the country?
Yes. Yeah. So that's why I tell that Sandman has to understand
that double-digit thing even worse.
I don't know if it was Sandman or Sugar Daddy earlier, but At the end of the day, the reason why we hype up OU is because we want them to feel good about themselves. If you feel like we're giving them a lot of attaboys, it's because we need them to feel really good.
I feel another Ian apology video coming up.
I would watch that all the time. And I just double checked. I remember last week, we checked the availability report. Texas and Oklahoma doesn't have one this week since they're not playing. So tracking those receivers will be pretty important. Tracking everything will be important. Best way to track that is right here on the Inside Texas YouTube channel. Make sure you give us a like, subscribe to the channel. We're going to have some great pregame, postgame stuff in about, 10 days now. We're going to have all the different stuff in the lead up to the game. Talking about this, we will figure that out. The State Fair is not a bad place to meet. I think on Friday nights, there's usually a group that gets together. We'll probably have more details forthcoming on that front.
Just check us out on the forum because I've actually had a couple of fans and members ask me about it. Just we'll have it updated at the forum. You just got to come see us at InsideTexas.com, and we'll keep you posted.
Like the show, if you know OU sucks, and if you're on the fence, give us a like anyway. And you can figure it out later.
Amen.
And of course, head to InsideTexas.com. We'll have those details. Use the promo code IT1. Get yourself 2 months of access for just $1. This is one of my favorite shows in a while, guys. Thank y'all for joining. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com.